What would you do if you believed your life was about to change forever, only to have that dream shatter in a single moment? Emily Harper stood at the edge of that precipice, her heart pounding as she entered the oak-paneled office of Grayson and Associates. The air smelled of old books and polished wood, and the weight of expectation hung heavy. For weeks, she'd carried the whispered promise of her late Aunt Margaret's fortune, a fortune that could erase her debts, fund her dreams, and give her a chance to start anew. But as she sat across from the three lawyers, their faces unreadable, a flicker of doubt crept into her chest. Emily was no stranger to struggle. At 28, she'd spent years piecing together a life from scraps, waiting tables, freelancing as a graphic designer, and caring for her younger brother, Sam, who'd been in and out of hospitals since childhood. Their parents were gone, lost to a car accident a decade ago, and Aunt Margaret had been their only family. Margaret, with her sharp wit and sprawling estate, had always hinted at a legacy. "You'll be taken care of, Emily," she'd said, her voice warm but cryptic. Emily clung to those words, imagining a future where she could breathe without the weight of bills and worry. The head lawyer, Mr. Grayson, adjusted his glasses and cleared his throat. "Ms. Harper, we've reviewed your aunt's estate," he began, his tone measured. Emily leaned forward, her hands clasped tightly. She pictured a check with zeros stretching across it, a house of her own, and college funds for Sam. Her heart raced with possibility. Then, a smirk flickered across Grayson's face, and the other two lawyers exchanged glances. A chill ran through her. "What's so funny?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Grayson slid a document across the desk. "This is the real will," he said, his words sharp as a blade. The room seemed to tilt. Emily's fingers trembled as she reached for the paper, her eyes scanning the text. The words "Blurtis inherited, charitable trust, minimal bequest." Margaret's fortune, millions amassed from her real estate empire, wasn't hers. It was going to a foundation for stray animals. Emily's inheritance, a modest $5,000 and a cryptic note. "Find your own wealth, my dear. You're stronger than you know." The lawyer's laughter stung like a slap. "You thought you'd get it all, didn't you?" one of them said, not unkindly but with a pity that burned worse. Emily's cheeks flushed, shame and anger warring within her. She wanted to scream, to demand answers, but the weight of the truth pinned her to the chair. She'd built her hopes on a mirage, and now it was gone. She stood, clutching the will, and walked out, the echo of their chuckles trailing behind her. Back at her cramped apartment, Emily sat on the floor, the will crumpled in her lap. Sam, 16 and frail from his latest treatment, watched her from the couch. "What happened?" he asked, his voice soft. She couldn't meet his eyes. How could she tell him their dreams of stability were dust? But as she looked at him, his hopeful gaze unwavering, something shifted. Margaret's note echoed in her mind. "You're stronger than you know." Emily spent sleepless nights replaying her aunt's words. Margaret had never been oneization. System, one to coddle, the other to scold. Emily's anger gave way to curiosity. Why would Margaret, who'd treated her like a daughter, leave her with so little? She visited the animal shelter funded by Margaret's trust, expecting to find answers. Instead, she found purpose. The shelter was understaffed, its workers passionate but stretched thin. Emily volunteered, using her $5,000 to buy supplies. She saw Margaret in every act of kindness. Her aunt hadn't abandoned her. She challenged her to find meaning beyond money. Months passed, and Emily poured herself into the shelter, designing flyers, organizing fundraisers, and caring for the animals. Sam joined her, his health improving, his laughter filling the kennels. The work was hard, but it was hers. She wasn't rich, but she was building something real, a legacy of love, not wealth. Margaret had known she didn't need millions to find her strength. She needed purpose. And in the wag of every tale, Emily found it.